Now, let's spend some time with Congressman Adam Kinzinger, who's on the line right now. Congressman, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, guys. It is not even Thanksgiving yet, and it's cold.
It is. Did this catch you unprepared, or are you always ready for this sort of thing?
No, I wish I was. I always end up underdressing for the cold, so yeah, it's pretty chilly for me. But, I'll be fine. I'll survive like everybody else.
Well, you have your house staffer to cloak you in your fur, don't you?
Yeah.
That's right. They just keep me in a heated bubble.
Oh, fur steward, for the congressman's cold.
Brings the heat.
Hey, we found out hanging around in Pete Sessions' office that time, he's got a fireplace.
No,
well, he's Rules Committee chairman.
Yeah, fireplace.
It's all hoity-toity.
Congressman, a bunch of stuff to get to in our limited time this morning. So much talk over the weekend, and it has been for a long time, but especially since the midterm, where the president's promising executive action on immigration. He's going to go on his own. You guys won't pass exactly what he wants, so he'll do it, and then you can pass exactly what he wants, and he'll be happy to sign it. Look, is what the president claimed, what the president's going to do, is it illegal? Is it going to cause a literal constitutional crisis in Washington?
Well, I think it could. The question is, what's the what do you do? To that extent, there's some legislative maneuvering that we can do, and that's something that we're going to discuss over the next few weeks here. But in terms of what do you sue again? Well, yeah, that may be an option, but then, that's going to take past Obama's administration to even get to court. It may be good to do just, to get that precedent on the record so that folks know that that's not acceptable in the future. But look, there's a lot of us that have said this is an opportunity to govern. The president, has an opportunity to say, all right, I heard from the American people. You don't like exactly what I'm doing, so let's try to find some ways we can work together. But it's obvious he's not willing to do that. And, sadly, I read an article, I remember, probably a year ago or so now, that talked about how the president feels, quote-unquote, liberated by the fact that he doesn't have to run for re-election. But that doesn't take away the fact that he still has to be president, and he's not going to listen to the American people, and this is going to backfire on him. And, it's going to destroy any potential goodwill that may have existed in Congress to say, all right, maybe there's an opportunity for some bipartisanship here. And it's going to further, the worst part about it is it's going to further erode the American people's trust in government. And, while Congress takes its fair share of the blame, and I understand that, really, you've got to look to one person, the commander-in-chief, the President of the United States, to govern, and he's just unwilling to do that.
And, as was pointed out a number of years ago when he looked across the table and said, hey, you guys don't like the way things are going, why don't you try winning a couple of elections?
Right, and we did. We won the elections, and we won them in a big way with a resounding victory. And, we're not going to go out and just start bragging, but at the same time, we're going to ask the president to listen to that, right? He doesn't have to give up everything he believes, but he also can't just go it alone on stuff. He's got to look to Congress and say, how can we come to some common ground agreement? But look, if he's unwilling to do that, you can't expect Congress to come all the way to his position. It's not going to happen.
Another issue the president appears unwilling to compromise on is the Keystone XL pipeline. Vote in the House last week to push it forward. The Senate, apparently, Dick Durbin over the weekend, Senator Durbin said they're one vote short right now in the Senate, but they're looking for it. He's not. I'm sure he'd like to see it fail, but others are looking to pick up that vote, the Democrat vote needed to move it forward. The president threatening to veto this legislation if it gets to his desk. Do you think the Senate will find the votes needed to put it actually on his desk?
Yeah, it depends. Harry Reid's very good at saying, hey, let's give him 59 votes, but fall just short of 60. But, Harry Reid at least sees the writing on the wall, which is this is going to pass in the new Senate. And it's probably going to pass pretty close to a veto-proof majority, which means we can override the president's veto. That would be a very good thing to see happen, and could potentially happen. But, look, it's the president is beholden. And anybody that had some thoughts that maybe he was going to attack to the center like Bill Clinton did, it's not happening. He is beholden to the radical environmental left that somehow thinks that, we can happy wishes ourselves off of carbon energy. It's not going to happen, and he doesn't care. So if he vetoes this, we'll do this again with a larger House majority next year and a large Senate majority, and maybe be able to override his veto and show the American people that we mean business about job creation, infrastructure, and energy security in this country.
It is amazing how many people on the other side of the aisle have come around to the idea that, you know what, this is a good idea. This is going to put people to work. I'm going to buck the party on this one, but the guy at the top refuses to budge.
Well, that's right. And think about pipelines this way. Where I live in Shanahan, we live above pipelines. There's pipelines all over the country. Pipelines are actually the most environmental friendly way to move stuff, because you're not putting it on trains, you're not putting it on tankers on the interstate.
Mm-hmm.
It's going through a pipeline that's monitored with a lot of technology. It is an environmentally secure way to do it. But, for some reason, what they believe is if you make energy prices high, if you restrict supply, it's going to motivate us to come up with, puppy power for cars.
And Senator Durbin, I'm trying to find the quote real quickly, but he was saying, hey, all this oil from Canada, it's not even going to help us here. Remember, the oil that's going to flow through the pipeline is not going to be used in the United States or reduce gas prices in the United States. Has he ever heard of a market?
Right.
If there's more oil on the market, supply-demand says that oil prices will be lower for everyone.
Look how they've gone down just with what we're producing as it is.
Right. I mean, look, it's very basic economics, but sometimes people on the left, like Senator Durbin, don't understand very basic economics, which says supply and demand. And this is going to give jobs to American folks working in refineries. This goes on the world market, and that's always good for energy. And not to mention the immediate jobs it creates in infrastructure. So, yeah, I mean, we don't have to belabor that point, because everybody knows the more energy on the market, the better it is everywhere else. Even if some of this oil is sent overseas to somewhere else, that displaces energy that they have to import from the Middle East.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger with us here. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. This Jonathan Gruber story, the MIT economist, the chief architect of Obamacare. A lot of videos coming out of him in the past 2 years, 3 years or so, saying the American people are stupid and we had to lie to them to get it passed, and they don't know economics, and all these things. We had to call it this, so they wouldn't believe that. President over the weekend said, Gruber, despite the fact he paid him $400,000, some advisor who never worked on our staff, and the president also said every single provision in Obamacare was extensively debated and fully transparent. It's like some alternate universe he's living in.
Does anybody believe that? I mean, Republicans put up amendments, alternatives, everything during that debate. I wasn't in Congress yet. And they shut it down. Pelosi and Reid shut it down for any Republican amendments, any Republican ideas. It was not open. It was not debated. People didn't even read the stinking bill, for goodness sakes. And remember, it came in the very last minute. It was an emergency move through budget reconciliation because Scott Brown had just won his election and was going to be able to stop it through filibuster. So they, very quickly used this budgeting maneuver to do it. So, that's wrong. As far as Gruber goes, look, the guy's an idiot. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And this is that idea of the left wing. They believe that these scholars, these people that go to Harvard or Yale, are the most brilliant people in the world. And anybody that doesn't have a Harvard or Yale-educated background is just to them, regular people that need to be told what to do. And it's ridiculous. And the bigger problem with this is not even so much what he said. I mean, it's offensive, it's terrible. But the fact that he was paid over $2 million in taxpayer money, not just from the federal government, but also from all these various states setting up their exchanges. So, look, this guy's an idiot, and I hope at the end of the day he gets called in front of Congress.
Yeah, he's an idiot with a couple of $1 million in the bank.
Yeah, he's living large now, and it's large in the taxpayer dole.
Hey, Congressman, I know you got to run here in a moment. I did want to touch on this. This was funny from the end of last week, the net neutrality push by the president, and somehow your tweets got swept up in some effort by the president to highlight lawmakers who were in support of the effort, but you're opposed. This is basically, net neutrality, making the internet a government utility, which doesn't seem like the finest idea, which is what you pointed out.
What could go wrong?
And then you were quoted as being in favor of the effort. This was awkward.
Yeah, it was. This is a left wing's dream, regulating the internet, and we put out a tweet that basically said, this is the equivalent of passing tweets in Morse code, and and the White House put us as a list of all the tweets that were in support of it. So, Yeah, it was really funny, and obviously shows. Look, if you're going to regulate the internet, you probably want to know what people are saying about you on Twitter, because that's part of the internet and important.
Yeah, maybe not. Congressman, as always, we know how busy you are. Thanks a lot for taking time for us.
Yeah, of course. Enjoyed it. Take care, guys.